back to another video. So today, I have an interesting topic to discuss with you guys, and it relates to the Dragonets of Destiny. Specifically, the characters we didn't end up getting to see as part of this group. Who else was planned to save the world, both in earlier drafts and if things went differently with the SkyWing egg in the Book 1 prologue? There's so much to talk about here, and I can't wait to discuss it all with you guys. But before we begin, a huge shout out to my patrons. Dark95, Thistle, Noobto, Pyronuke, Avril, Pancake, Escarada, Adequin, Alex Cleaver, Shadow Hunter, and Atlas Stargazer. Thank you all so much for supporting me. Links to their social medias are in the description down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. Before we dive into what almost was in the current canon, we're going to take a look back into some of Tui's earlier drafts. Wings of Fire underwent a lot of significant changes during its early development, as does every book series. Dragonets of Destiny themselves were originally going to be a much different group. The prophecy was originally going to call for an IceWing as well, giving us one additional member that ultimately didn't make the final cut. We don't really know anything about who this dragon would have been, but it's a lot of fun to speculate. Do you think they would have followed the trend of a lot of the DODs and turned out to be royalty smuggled out of the kingdom? Or would this IceWing have just been from someone that fled the tundra and hatched their dragonet for the Talons of Peace? The villager IceWings do have a big sense of community, so it'd be rather odd for this to occur though. However, an IceWing member of the Dragonets of Destiny end up being added for numerous reasons. For one, the Nightwings are the tribe that invented the prophecy, and they hate IceWings. They wouldn't want their enemies to be represented by a heroic figure to the rest of Pyria. Secondly, the Great Ice Cliff still existed at this point in time. That wall prevents anyone that isn't an IceWing from entering the kingdom, meaning getting an egg out would have to be an inside job, and we know there weren't really many IceWings in the Talons of Peace at all. And the third reason, which is the primary one for Tui at the time, is that there simply would have just been too many main characters. You don't want your whole primary cast to be bloated with an excess number of dragonets. So, eliminating an IceWing character was the way to go, especially considering how it would make very little sense in their universe. But a Prophecy Arctic Dragon wasn't the only one eliminated from the original roster. In fact, we were originally going to get 2 SkyWings in the Prophecy, and they are characters that were repurposed into ones we know and love, those being Peril and Sky. This is a bit of trivia a lot of longtime fans know, as it's definitely one of the most interesting things we've learned about the earliest drafts. Peril and Sky actually being in the Dragonet Prophecy would have changed so much, besides Sky's name, which Tui said would have been Ember in that case. If we had these twins hatch with the group, then there would have needed to be no reason for Glory. After all, she was only brought in due to the SkyWing egg being thrown off a cliff in the first prologue. Personally, I think the idea of a dragon forcibly raised to be part of a prophecy Destiny didn't even call her for is much more interesting than just twins complicating things. It also added more tensity and started the story with death. Peril and Ember were both still used though. Peril ended up being a prominent character throughout the books, and a SkyWing with the deadly ability of fire scales. Sky, on the other Talon, has no fire, and ultimately grew up alongside a human that was abandoned by her own species too. But there was still a SkyWing that was supposed to make it into the actual prophecy, though died off a cliff edge in those opening pages of the series, and we actually know a little bit about who this character would have been. Based on the description Kestrel gave after going to the site of Vitter's death, this dragonet would have been a girl. This reality would also likely mean no Glory, unless Webbs didn't know about her survival before grabbing the Rainwing egg. A SkyWing in the prophecy would have certainly been an interesting reality. I'd love it if we got to see a soft member of this tribe, who certainly contrasted Kestrel's anger, and that of Scarlet, whom we would eventually run into. It's so interesting to think about all the changes that were made to Wings of Fire before Tui ended up settling on the final draft. A Mudwing, Seawing, Unplanned Rainwing, Nightwing, and Hybrid Sandwing. And I think this ending is absolutely perfect. What do you guys think? Which of these alternate versions of Book 1 would have had you the most excited to read if we got it? Do you prefer how things ended up like me? Let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!